Picture this for a second. It's dawn. You're standing at the edge of a dense, fog-covered forest. The air is completely still, heavy. The only sound is just the distant wind rustling through the trees. But hidden right there in the mist is an impossible secret that has literally baffled investigators for generations. I mean, look, people go missing all the time, right? It's a sad fact of history. But an entire settlement? Hundreds of people vanishing without a single footprint? Well, it's pretty much statistically impossible. Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to dive deep into a really dark, documentary-style investigation here. We'll be using the facts, the evidence, and the historical records we actually have to try and piece together one of the most unsettling events in human history. So let's get into it.
So, let's start with this incredibly chilling premise. What if an entire village disappeared without leaving a single trace? Seriously, take a second and really think about that. According to the source records, there were absolutely no bodies found, no sign of a struggle whatsoever, zero explanation left behind, just complete and utter silence. And the crazy thing is, this isn't some campfire ghost story or a work of fiction. This is the actual, haunting reality of the scene that travelers stumbled upon back then. And honestly, it sets up an incredible detective journey for us today.
Part 1. A chilling, unsolved mystery. The day the village went silent. To really grasp the gravity of this, we have to remember that this wasn't just some temporary camp. This was a thriving, loud, busy community right up until the exact moment it wasn't.
When travelers finally arrived on that fateful morning, they essentially walked into a ghost town, totally frozen in time. Half-eaten meals were literally still sitting right there on the dining tables. Doors were left wide open, just banging in the wind. Personal belongings, family heirlooms, tools, completely untouched. It was as if the hundreds of people who lived there had just evaporated into the mist mid-sentence. Every single resident vanished, leaving their whole lives exactly where they stood. And that bizarre scene brings us to the inevitable questions that the very first investigators had to face. I mean, did they flee? Were they taken? Or was something far more disturbing responsible? So put on your detective hat for a minute and investigate alongside me as we look through the evidence. We've got handwritten reports, old newspaper headlines, and historical documents that try to answer these exact questions. Let's break down the three leading theories that came out of that initial search.
Theory 1. Natural disaster. Honestly, the very first logical place scientists look when a mass of people suddenly disappears is the environment itself. Could some crazy environmental event have forced an immediate mass evacuation?
Well, here's where we hit a massive scientific paradox. On one hand, you have geologists who scoured historical weather records, looking for any signs of sudden earthquakes, massive sinkholes, or maybe even the release of poisonous gases from the earth that might have driven everyone out in a total panic. Makes sense, right? But this theory hits a massive brick wall. Think about it. If there was a panicked, terrified evacuation because of a sudden disaster, why was everything left perfectly intact? The untouched belongings, the meals still sitting out on the tables. That completely contradicts a chaotic flight from nature. Everything in the village was totally unenforced and undisturbed.
That brings us to Theory 2, secret conflict. When the physical environment doesn't give us the answer, we kind of have to explore the darker side of human nature and the political landscape of the era.
Historical sources do point to rumors of deep political tensions in the wider region back then. This led some to hypothesize about a possible covert military involvement. And what actually gives this theory a bit of weight are the witness accounts from neighboring areas. People claimed they saw strange, unidentifiable activity in the days leading right up to the disappearance. However, as impartial investigators, we have to point out that the concrete evidence for this remains completely uncertain. Like there are no bullet casings, no signs of forced entry, zero physical proof of any kind of military roundup.
So, moving on to Theory 3. Dark folklore. You know, when science and politics both fail to give a solid answer, human psychology almost inevitably turns to the supernatural to explain something like an empty village. According to stories passed down through generations, neighboring villagers reported seeing these unexplained, mysterious lights, weird glowing phenomena, and strange sounds echoing from the woods right before the vanishing happened. And hey, while these stories of moonlit forests and glowing orbs add a really rich layer of suspense to our explainer today, we absolutely have to remember that they are local legends. They are folklore, not confirmed empirical facts. Still, they really show just how deeply this mystery scarred the local consciousness.
Part 4. A case reclaimed by time. The cold case today.
To really understand where this mystery stands now, we have to look at what modern explorers actually find when they visit the site today.
The tragic reality of historical investigation is that time basically erases clues while simultaneously deepening the mystery. If you go there today, modern explorers don't find a pristine, frozen-in-time ghost town anymore. Instead, they find crumbling structures, overgrown paths, and silent stone walls that have been entirely reclaimed by nature. It is a really stark reminder of how incredibly fragile our human footprint actually is, How quickly history can just be swallowed back up by the earth. Honestly, the physical site now offers us way more questions than answers.
So when we synthesize all this missing information today, a pretty fragmented picture emerges. Historians who focus on the old documents and handwritten reports will tell you that the evidence of conflict is just completely incomplete. Then you have archaeologists surveying the terrain and the ruins, and they confirm there's no definitive proof of a natural disaster forcing an evacuation. Finally, researchers studying the local folklore agree that while multiple fascinating perspectives exist, there is no single certainty. And frankly, mysteries like this survive and thrive precisely because the facts are just so deeply fragmented across these different fields of study.
As the old saying goes, some mysteries are solved, others become legends. We've looked at the incredible suddenness of the event, those untouched meals, the environmental data, the rumors of conflict, and even the chilling local folklore. We've structured the evidence we have, but the actual truth remains just completely out of reach. Until some new piece of evidence is magically unearthed from those overgrown ruins, the fate of these people remains buried in the shadows of history. It really leaves you wondering, if an entire village of hundreds of people can just vanish into thin air, what else is hidden out there in the fog, waiting to be found? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.